A lot of people don't realize that the token supply they see for their favorite multi-chain token on CoinMarketCap might be completely inaccurate. Here's a startling fact. A project's token supply might show as 100 million total supply on CoinMarketCap, but what's not being shown is the additional 100 million tokens they've launched on a secondary chain. The example I just shared isn't just a minor detail, it's literally doubling the supply right under your nose. And with a big one like mine, I can smell fishy supply when I see it. Let's consider for a moment how this doubling in supply might impact the project's true value and your investment thesis on that specific project. Now, what's often overlooked is the complexity of launching a multi-chain token. With wrapped, mirror, and synthetic tokens being launched, it's a labyrinth of hidden supply within this complexity. But here's the alpha. Savvy investors are looking at interesting technologies like OFT by LayerZero and ITS by Axerlar, which are emerging to be key players to bring transparency and bring some chaos to this multi-chain supply mess. In this video, I'm pulling back the curtain on the hidden world of multi-chain tokens. I'll share 3 key insights to help you find these discrepancies, avoid risky high supply assets, and make informed decisions about assets with their full multi-chain supply information at hand. With the information in this video, you'll be able to position yourself to capitalize in the best way and make informed decisions about the projects you get involved with. So let's dive into the first point, the hidden supply problem with multi-chain tokens. I touched on this early in the video, but token supply reporting for multi-chain tokens is a complete nightmare, partly because there's no consensus on a standardized protocol or standardized method to report supply for multi-chain tokens. In fact, there's no consensus on how to launch supply across networks for multi-chain tokens either. Until OFT and ITS came out with a standard mechanism that enforced reducing supply on the primary network before you increase supply on the secondary network, many projects would just decide at random how they're going to deal with this. In many cases, projects that would have 100 million supply on chain 1, when they decide to launch on chain 2, would launch the same token with 100 million supply on chain 2, thinking, oh, no big deal, it's a different chain. But in actuality, now you have 200 million tokens in circulation, and each of your tokens' value has been cut in half without you even knowing. So this is quite a bit of a problem. And this problem has been spread all across crypto, all across the EVM ecosystem. And what's worse for my Bitcoin fans out there, it is coming to Bitcoin with the L2 season that is bringing L2 liquidity segregation and supply problems as well. So how do we look into and identify these problems, and how do we stay away from tokens with inflated supply? Well, one of the first steps you can do, especially on the EVM side, is not just relying on the CoinMarketCap and CoinGecko aggregated data. In many cases, that data is provided by APIs that the project provides. In some cases, CoinMarketCap might pull that from the token contract that the project initially provided, but when they launch on initial chains, that data is never updated. So you want to go ahead and take a look at if the project has mentioned that they've launched on multiple chains. Let's say they initially launched on Ethereum, but now they're also on BSC and Arbitrum. You want to take their contract address, you want to go to those explorers and look at the token supply that is mentioned for the token on the explorers. That is going to be the most accurate data that you can find. So that's going to be your first check. The second check, of course, is asking the project's admins and community for up-to-date token supply information. If they're not able to provide this information to you as folks that are running the project, that should be a red flag. And finally, if for some reason you're not able to easily find out all of the ways where the project might have launched across different chains, you can simply look for the token's trading volume across DeFi Llama and see where the token is trading, look at those trading transactions, grab the contract address, go to the Explorer, type that contract address in, and it will give you the supply information, the token symbol, and much more. You want to, of course, check this across multiple chains. If you know the token is launched on Polygon, BSC, Ethereum, Base, other chains on the EVM side, and in many cases, some tokens are launched across EVM ecosystem and non-EVM ecosystems too, so you want to check that supply too. The overall supply of the token should be the combination of their token in circulation and token that is minted across all chains, not just one chain. That is the key point to remember. When you know their total supply across all chains, that is the number you use to understand their valuation. The token price multiplied by the total supply is their fully diluted value. The token price multiplied by the circulating supply is their current market cap. So with that, let's take a minute to figure out how we got into this mess anyway, which gets us into point number 2. So let's talk a little bit about the challenges in launching multi-chain tokens. So when you're launching a multi-chain token, it's not that these projects are going out all with malicious intent just to try to dupe users into having inflated supplies and never informing them. There are a lot of questions that are unanswered for projects even today. being in the technology sector of the space, I face a lot of these questions from projects who are like, hey, what's the best way to get my supply across multiple chains? Should I burn the supply? But if I burn the supply, my token is not upgradable on the primary chain. What if I want to come back to the primary chain and reissue that supply? I won't be able to do that without doing a token swap and issuing an entirely new token. So there's a lot of problems and a lot of unanswered questions that projects face. So it's not all malicious intent. I want that to be clear. In some cases, just limitations of the token when it launched. Maybe it was not an upgradable token, maybe it's not a mintable token, and they don't have any option other than to just mint the additional supply on the secondary chain and just lock the supply in the primary chain instead of burning it or reducing it so that it is reported to the aggregators that way. However, OFT and ITS solve this problem because they natively are able to do supply management. So when you take the token on the primary chain and mint it on the secondary chain, I'll explain how OFT, ITS, and other solutions that manage the supply natively handle all of that for you automatically. What projects have to do, however, is they have to manually go through the process of burning tokens every time on the primary chain and minting them on the secondary chain. Now, obviously, this is very cumbersome, so this is where the second culprit came in that tried to solve this problem, but created a much worse mess. So in order to help projects manage this supply and not have to manually burn on the primary chain and mint on the secondary chain every time, Bridges came in with a solution called burn and mint. So this sounds great because, okay, the bridge can just mint tokens on the secondary chain as users want to bridge to it, and the project owners don't have to worry about the administrative burden. The problem is, the token on the secondary chain is not issued by the project. It's issued and controlled and operated by the bridging protocol. This means that the bridge token is an entirely different version of the token that is not administered by the project. If the bridge gets hacked, all of the tokens that bridge issued are also at risk, right? So these are where wrapped and mirror and synthetic tokens came from. There were other use cases, but this is the primary use case where you see versions of tokens circulating around. I've seen so many instances where a project has an official version of their token on a primary and secondary chain, and some bridge integrated their technology and enabled the token to be bridged across the chain, and it created another version of the token with no liquidity, no market, no ability to trade, and those users who bridge to that chain are now locked over there. So this is a pretty serious problem. So first was a technical and administrative problem. Second is a problem that burn and mint bridges created with issuing their own versions of wrapped, mirror, and synthetic tokens. With all of these different variations of how token supply is managed and how tokens are launched across chains, you can see how this reporting is like a mess to deal with and really, really difficult to report across because the reporting mechanism is also not standardized. I've worked with some devs on creating some APIs that can provide real-time token data across all EVM chains, but these solutions are not heavily adopted yet. So now we get into the last point where we cover what solutions are in the space right now solving this problem. So let's get into point number 3, emerging solutions for multi-chain token management. So I'm going to talk about 3 key players in the space, and there's many, many more coming, but these are the 3 who have a pretty good share of the market, the first 2 being the largest one, right? So you have LayerZero, who has created the OFT standard, known as the Omnichain Fungible Token Standard. You have Axerlar with their ITS standard, which is known as the Interchain Token Service. And now you've got Wormhole coming through the space with NTT, or Native Token Transfer. Many, many more solutions coming. Each has its pros and cons. But let's get into a few key benefits of LayerZero's OFT and Axelar's ITS. With LayerZero's OFT, and ITS and NTT, all of them share the fact that the supply will be natively managed. This means that when you launch a token on one chain and you decide that you want to launch it also on second, third, fourth, fifth, however many integrated chains, the token contract itself is able to, through the LayerZero relayers or Axerlar providers, infrastructure provided, and same with Wormhole infrastructure provider, it is going to be able to send those messages in real time across the chain to say, this token has, let's say, 10 million supply on chain 1, 10 million on chain 2, 80 million on chain 3 as an example. And as tokens move, there's no bridge that is necessarily controlling the supply. The token natively is able to reduce the supply. Let's say out of those 80 million tokens on chain 3, users migrate 70 million of them to chain 1. It is natively able to reduce the supply on chain 3 and add the supply on chain 1. So the beauty of this is that the tokens across all chains were administered and controlled by the project themselves, not some random wrapped token issued by some bridge. So that's one benefit. The second benefit, of course, is that you have the authorized version of the tokens that can easily go across chains instead of having 4 different versions. One is wrapped, one is mirrored, another one is synthetic, and you're like, which one am I supposed to trade? So that problem goes away as well. And finally, each one has some unique benefits. So as an example, LayerZero has a quick settlement time, whereas Axerlar is integrated with slightly more chains. So with LayerZero, when you do these transfers, you're typically able to sell them in about 2 to 5 minutes because they have liquidity providers such as Stargate and other solutions that are able to credit those transactions across chains and verify and validate the fact that those transactions have reached finality. Axerlar relies on native chain state finality. So this means if you go and transact on Ethereum, you might wait about 15 minutes for finalization. If you go on Avalanche, you might wait about 2 to 6 minutes for finalization. So it's chain dependent. Wormhole hasn't really announced at scale how their solution is going to be settling, but I imagine that they're going to try to compete with these 2 players. So that's another one to keep an eye on. So yeah, I mean, these solutions have a lot more that we can dive into, but OFT, ITS are 2 solutions that I'm looking out for, and they solve this problem of segregated tokens across chains. I hope you enjoyed watching this video, but obviously I only covered so much as to what OFT and ITS by LayerZero and Axerlar are doing, including some of the solutions by Wormhole such as NTT. If you want to dive a little bit deeper into how these solutions are going to improve trading experience, you want to check out this video right here where I talk about something called omni-chain liquidity that is making trading possible across all chains with a single wallet without ever having to go to the secondary or tertiary chain. With that, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one.